Purnima.
Hi, Tatiana. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It's so wonderful to have you here today with me to speak about intensity.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you to our listeners who are joining us. Please,
Anna, how are you?
I'm doing so sorry. I just had again, some IT things coming up, which is part of intensity. So, Purnima is a leader in a technology industry. She is bringing diversity to the technology sectors. She leads with empathy. She leads with passion. She leads with assertive, powerful leadership style. So, and I know you have a very busy schedule. Recently, you have received also several awards. So, thank you so much for coming, finding time in your busy diary to speak about such an important topic as intensity in leadership.
Yes.
So, would you like to say a couple words about what intensity in leadership mean for you?
So for me, intensity in leadership, when you talked about it, Tatiana, and we spoke about it earlier, for me, this is a positive word. I know that intensity in leadership sometimes can have negative connotations like severity or ferocity or fierceness. But for me, I think intensive leadership means assertive leadership. For me, it comes from a place of passion. It comes from a place of positive energy, and it also definitely comes from a place of urgency, the urgent need to lead, to do something, to have a goal, and to really work towards that goal.
Yes, and you highlight a very important moment, Purnima. Of course, passion and purpose is a very important part of healthy intensity,
Yeah,
and it's so important for intense leaders to be aware where they put their energy,
yeah,
because intense leaders, they have a very strong presence. So what it means with that very strong present, comes a responsibility.
exactly.
Responsibility regarding impact on teams, regarding impact on the organization. And when we are connected with a clear purpose, then it's possible to direct that energy in the to the better impact. Of
Yeah.
course, there is another part of intensity as well, and it's also ability of being aware of this impact we're having.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's quite interesting, Tatiana, when you asked me the question, when we discussed it before and you said you were talking about intensive leadership. I'm sorry, I've just interrupted you, but I actually looked up what the meaning meant. And it's very much, it comes from the French word for intense. It comes from the Latin for intensus, which actually directly translates as structured, stretched, strained, high strung, tight. But it is also the past participle of the word intend, which is to have a plan, to have a purpose, or to give attention to. And I think that's interesting, isn't it? That it's got both those connotations, which is it's high strung and tight, but it comes with a plan and a purpose. And I think I come from that place of plan and purpose.
yes, exactly, and it's actually, even this definition demonstrates that in life there is often a shadow and light side,
Yes.
and remembering that and holding those both sides as true allows us to notice when does intensity potentially switch to a toxic version, and
Yeah.
what could lead to that is when a leader acts from the place of not completely trusting actually themselves,
Yeah.
and as a result they might need to prove something.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
for me, the three important components of healthy intensity is purpose. We spoke about energy, because it's about ability to recognize and to manage our own energy and energy of others,
Yeah.
and also trust. So trusting self acting from the place of actually believing in self, and through that actually trusting others, because
Correct.
then there is nothing to prove. So when you look at those three components, which one resonates the most with you that you would like to dive a little bit deeper in today?
I like the two words that you used. I think energy and purpose. For me, energy connects to the purpose. I think you can be you can get your energy and purpose from having the strength or the feeling that this is what you intend to do and this is how you intend to lead. Now, I think it's interesting what you say, because for me, where I really, the words that resonate with me, which is what you're asking about, is using that intensity, that assertive leadership, to pass on to the people who work with you or for you, not panic, not overwhelmingness, but to pass on the feeling of, we know exactly where her intent is, we know what she wants us to do, we know the purpose of what she's asked us to do. She's given us really good direction, and I genuinely believe in a clear picture of what is the end state. You need to convey that. Those are the essential details, and once you've conveyed those essential details, people will pick from you the energy, the passion, where they need to get to, what is the end goal, without picking up any of the negativeness about it, which is anything to do with panic, or there is a problem, or we need to react in a certain way. I think you can pass on that passion and energy to say that this is what we need to do. And I think I used the word earlier, which was another word that really resonates with me is urgency. Intensity also shows an emergency and urgency to do something. So you might be that there is a point in your leadership where you need people to react quickly, to move quickly, to do things. But that passion can also show the urgency. So people can say, okay, this is important. It has a purpose, but it also has a timeline related to it that we need to get it done in. And for me, that's how, and that's why what word relate to me, I think energy, connecting it to purpose, those are the three things that really resonate with me.
Yes, and what I'm hearing you are saying is that it's the clarity of the mission
Correct.
has to be really very clear, first of all, to leader themselves,
Correct.
and then being able to communicate that clarity
Yeah.
to the team.
Yeah.
And of course, if there is urgency, but how not to turn that urgency into sense of panic
Correct.
and observing what's happening in a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So because there are always both sides to intensity and to everything in life.
Yeah.
There are always shadow and light, and that's what makes light even brighter, right? So how how does it look for you? Well, first of all, have you ever been called an intense leader?
Definitely. I think I have definitely been called an intense leader. And I'm hoping that it has been in a positive way and not in a negative way that I have been called that. Um, I, for me, and I want to go back to your first question, I think able leadership, or as I call it, competent directorate, skillful guidance, they are all part of intense leadership. And like I said, you might find through the whole conversation today that for me, I'm always putting a positive spin on it. There is nothing negative, and I truly believe there isn't. I think, I said it earlier, leaders' intent, you give a concise statement to somebody, what people must do to succeed. And it is about the task, the purpose. And I think you asked me whether I'm being called an intense leader as well. I think you need to decouple the intent of the leadership and the direction the leader is giving you from the personality of the leader. And I think a lot of times people try to mix the two. The personality might be an intense personality as well. The intent might be intense, but we have to look at what the final goal is and how that is being communicated. And communication, I think, next word, really, really important.
Yes, and you are mentioning a very important point, decoupling actually the mission from the personality, and that's because the mission is communicated by their personality. So
Exactly.
how is intense leader has the responsibility of being aware of their personality, and
Yeah.
how, because through that lens the mission will be seen. Like
Exactly.
I know you have a lot of experience in leadership, so how is it for you? What's your secret sauce of communicating through the lens of your personality, so that your team are aware?
Yeah.
What's
You
your
know,
secret?
yeah, Tatiana, what I am very focused on is whenever you are giving I like to say giving direction to your team, but I would also like to say trying to get them to buy into the direction as well. When I'm trying to do that, when I'm trying to say, well, this is our direction, this is where we want to go, I'm also trying to buy in their understanding of it. I'm also very keen when I do that. I also like to be very transparent.
Mhm.
Transparency is not about telling everybody everything, but giving people a fair and clear idea of why we are trying to do something. So in my leadership, I'm always finding that what works, and this is through trial and error, because what doesn't work, so what started working, is giving people a really clear idea of why we're doing something. That is the most important thing. Why are we sitting here and discussing this thing? What is our purpose? What do we need to come out of that? What do we need the end goal to be? And based on that, what are the tasks we need to do? Now, when I say tasks, I'm not micromanaging. What I'm saying is these are the steps that are going to get us there. Sometimes you need to be more, I would say, you need to be, you need to give an energy of good energy, positive energy, but you need to be quite intensive about it. You need to say, this needs to happen. We need to get to this goal. And this is how we're going to do it. But I'm welcoming ideas at the same time to see, how do you think that we can do this? But once we've decided what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, embedding the capacity for greatness in your people, looking at the practices of the organization, decoupling, as I said, from the personality of the leader, you then come up with concise statement of what people must do to succeed in those assignments, and then really fulfill those with, here's the task, here's the objective, here's the goal, and here's the purpose, here's why we need to do this, and then here's where we finally need to be. So really clear understanding for everybody without confusing the issue.
Yes, so clarity is very important, and of course, let's make it real. So because there are diverse leaders or diverse people working in a team, right?
Yeah,
And everybody hearing things slightly differently, and also sometimes for some people, the sense of urgency that
yeah,
comes with intense leadership could result in stress, and we might not
yeah.
hear their point of view, and actually it is important to hear different points of view. So what are your signs? Like, how do you know yourself where you're staying in healthy intensity and you're looking after your own energy, and where this dial is switching? It might be because the energy gets drained, or you notice some unwelcome behavior in a team. What are the signs for you?
You make a very good point, Tatiana. Diversity of thought, incredibly important. We have not just a diversity of genders, you have a diversity of ethnicity, you have a diversity of neurotypical, neurodiverse individuals on the team. And I think will, everybody hears what you say, not everybody listens in the same way. And that's why it's really important for me. What I like to do is, once I've given, I like to say direction, but I don't mean direction. It's not about directing people, it's bringing them with you on the journey. So, but once you've given that clear direction of where you want to be, what I tend to do always is get people to replay it back to me. What did you think I just said? Where do you think we need to be? What do you think that you can offer to do to get us to what I'm talking about? What do you think is this the right way we are going towards our goal? What are your options? What is another opinion you have about it? And unless you gather those opinions, you might come into a room, give a complete direction of this is my strategy, this is what I want you to do, walk away. And it's like everybody has heard something different. It's the blind men on the elephant. One thinks it's a fan and one thinks it's a tube. And, it's that sort of thing. So very important to replay it back. What do you think I said? Okay, we now understand that everybody thinks the same. What do you think were the ideas? Can we change them? I tell you, so many times I have had people come back and, say to me, what about trying this? Oh, you haven't thought about that. You are constantly learning. And if you're not willing to learn, it's all great to say, I'm an intense leader and I want to have assertive leadership. But assertive leadership is also about listening and learning yourself, because you will listen and you will think, I never thought of that. I was looking at it completely from a leadership lens. What I wasn't looking at it from a people lens. What I wasn't looking at it from a diversity lens. What I wasn't looking at it from a client lens. And those people in the room are actually giving you different lenses for you to look at. And that's why it's really important that you listen and you get people to replay that back to you.
You're highlighting a very important point and very important distinction that actually differentiate toxic intensity from healthy intensity. Because
Correct.
in healthy intensity, we're able to keep this open mind and approach it with curiosity. Because one of the dangers of intensity and the urgency is to get into this tunnel vision.
Yes.
And I love that you are approaching it with saying, what have you heard? Right? How have you received it? How did you understand the mission?
Exactly.
And slowing down enough
in
the leadership, that there is kind of a dilemma, right? On one hand, there is a pressure of urgency. On the other hand, being secure enough in self and in a team to slow down, to allow those different views and different points of view to be heard.
Exactly. And willing at the same time, Tatiana, to take a step back and go, I didn't think of that, and you are right.
Yeah.
On this occasion, let's do it that way. I agree with you. You don't have to stick with your point of view just because you've decided I'm an assertive leader and everything I say goes. You set a strategy. Constantly you're setting a strategy. You're giving a clear picture of where you want the end state to be. You're conveying the essential details that are required, but you're then bringing a buy-in from your team to say, we agree with this statement, we agree with this strategy, we agree with the end goal, but we think if we do it this way, but we think we want to do it this way, or we agree with you and we want to add more layers to what you're saying. We could also do this and also do that. I think it is so important in, like I said, I call it competent directorate. And being humble is the best thing you can do, is sit in there and go, I don't know everything. And the reason you hire good people in your team, the reason you hire the best people in your team is because they make you a better leader. And what you listen.
Yes, and that's exactly right. So it's being humble and not being attached to being right, being open to change the point of view with a different lens and different information coming your way. That really brings people in and engages it. And I love the statement from the $1 trillion coach Bill Campbell, who coached majority of leaders in Silicon Valley. So he said, your title makes you into a manager, your people make you into a leader.
Correct. 100%. And the humility to know when you are wrong and go, I am actually on this occasion wrong, and create, for me, it's also creating the atmosphere within your teams that they feel that they don't have to be brave. They feel that it is an atmosphere where they can raise their hand and go, no, I don't think you're right on this occasion.
Yes.
I do think you're wrong. And, done in the nicest possible way. Words are very powerful. You can do it in the nicest possible way. Nobody has to be horrible or mean, but done in the nicest possible way. You're creating that atmosphere where people are not scared. People are not scared to raise their hands and go, I actually think you're wrong. And, they may have saved you from the worst situation because all you did was created that atmosphere, heard what they had to say, and listened.
Yes, this is so important. It's create this psychologically safe and brave space where it's okay for people to speak up and express their view.
Yeah.
It's when different views are heard,
Yeah.
then people can commit. They can agree and commit, or they can disagree and commit.
Yeah. Exactly.
This space, and that's actually underlining feature of effective teams, right? So if
Yeah.
if in a team those difficult conversations, those different points of view cannot be voiced, then the team unlikely to be effective.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Mhm.
sorry, go on, Tatiana.
No, and that's of course responsibility of an intense leader
Yeah.
to create that space.
Yeah. 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 And again, if we go back to your topic of intense leadership, it is about force, but a good force. It's a force of positiveness, to make people see. And again, if you don't approve at their point, it's a positive way of saying, why do I disagree with you? But giving reasoning behind it. Again, don't just say I don't agree with you. I think everything needs to be, explained. Well, this is my thinking. I can see where you're coming from, but this is my thinking. And suddenly you will find that people will sit, they will listen, they'll go, actually, on this occasion, I agree with you. And though I had no intention of doing it the way you wanted to, I can see you've changed my mind about it. But you just can't go. They're not children. People you work with are not children. You can't say because I told you so. It is a lot more than that, isn't it? It's a lot more about transferring the power. And again, I looked up the physics definition of intensity, and it says intensity is equal to the power transferred per unit area. You are transferring power. It's quite interesting that even in physics it talks about power over 4 pi r square, which is transferring power per unit area. It's the magnitude of power that you transfer.
Yes, and that's this combination of creating the space, creating the environment where different opinions are heard, valued, with humility,
Yeah,
with being able to be humble, right?
exactly. Yeah,
And actually also clear on the mission,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I love this power transferred per unit square. Of course, it's not holding power self.
Yeah,
It's allowing also other team members, our diverse team members, to transfer their power to the mission we're
exactly.
working on.
Yeah. And, again, one of the statements I always think about very much is the things you're passionate about come out in a sense of assertiveness. But if you're passionate about something, it's not random, is because you believe in it, and you feel very strongly about it. And I think that passing on that power is you passing on that passion in a way.
Yes, yes, it's basically this act of sharing the passion, and
Exactly.
others become part of this passion and being inspired, and then then the force becomes stronger, right,
Yeah.
towards the mission.
Yeah.
So and of course in this process it's so important to look after our own energy and energy of the team.
Hmm.
I'm curious, how do you pay attention to your energy and energy of the team?
I think you have to be really, really intensely aware of this. I think it's so aware because not everybody is giving full energy, full passion at all times. And there are some conversations I will have with people, with my team, and you've got to read the room. The emotional intelligence of a leader is so very important. This person today is not here. Their mind is somewhere else. They come up with the best ideas, but it's not today. And that's okay, because we need to give them the space sometimes to have a think and say, okay, well, I'm saying this, I think this, but we don't have to discuss it today. We can come back to it in a week's time. Some people need that space to think things through. And not everybody is going to sit in the room and you're challenging and you're giving a strategy and you're giving the essential details and they're sitting there and going, yeah, I think this or I think that. It doesn't always happen. You could have a fantastic session one day and the next day you find no energy in the room, and you can do everything you can to pass on your passion and energy and it's not working. Well, that's not the day. You walk away, you let people go away, think about it, and you say, well, these are the things we need to think about. Let's talk about it in a week's time. And I think giving people space, emotional intelligence, reading the room, extremely important for any leader.
Yes, reading the air and creating actually the space for different styles, and also the space to slow down. Talking about physics, accelerations in physics consists of three important parts. It's increasing speeds, it's changing direction, and slowing down.
Yeah.
There is no acceleration without slowing down. And
Exactly.
that's important to remember for intense leadership as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. But, sometimes we are not the best leaders. And Tatiana, we have to also accept that there are some times when those ideas are not coming fiercely to our minds. And you and me have spoken many times about take a step back, breathe, do something slightly different, walk away from the problem. You don't have to have all the answers all the time. Ask for help. That for me are all things that leaders should think about, because we don't have all the answers. And asking for help is not making us look weak. It actually shows a sense of strength, that I am willing to go away and say, well, I don't understand this. I don't know this. And I need your help. What do you think?
Yes, it's such an important tool, asking for help, because it demonstrates vulnerability, it demonstrates open-mindedness, and it's actually really empowers and elevates the person we ask for help, because it's a gift. So remembering that when we ask for help, we're actually giving a gift to someone to support us on our mission.
Exactly. And truly, I think when you say mission, it always reminds me of that. Maya Angelou, my favorite quote from her is how I want to live my life. And she talks about, my mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. That's my mission.
I love it. And I love this wonderful quote towards the end of our conversation. And if you could say, what's your mission before we finish, and where can people find you, Purnima?
My mission, truly, Tatiana, is to be successful in what I do, but to really help through my career to help other people succeed. I think more than having a really high position, what will really make me happy is one day if somebody says, she helped me succeed.
Right.
Taught me what I know. I've learned a lot from her, and I think that would make me feel much better than me being in this high position. And always it comes back, you've got the 2 daughters, I've got 3. It always comes back to my mission in life is to be a role model to my children, for them to think that everything is possible. I can have a great career, I can be a great leader, I can have a fantastic job, but I can have a family. I can come home and be a wonderful mother, I can be a wonderful cook, I can keep a lovely, I can make a happy life, and I can have a real balance. And it is all possible. You need commitment, you need to surround yourself with good people, and you can achieve all of that.
Fabulous, Purnima. Thank you so much. It was fun to have a conversation with you. And where can people find you?
I am available on LinkedIn. It's Purnima Sen. I am the Chief People and Impact Officer at Sparta Global. So if you want to email me directly, my email is psen@spartaglobal.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Purnima, for your time. And thank you, listeners, for being with us.
Thank you very much for asking me, Tatiana.